right. Well, we got a couple different streams going, and hopefully everything works out brilliantly. But we're just going to have a conversation. Okay. My good friend Cody, known each other for
7 years.
7 years. Has it been 7 years? Yeah, that feels about right. So I don't know. I probably run into you once a week now, every other week. Yeah. We both work in recovery. Yeah. And I've had opportunity to get to watch you in many areas of your life succeed. Just had a wedding.
Yeah.
Not too long ago. Congratulations on that, by the way. But for those of you that are watching or will watch this, we're going to talk a bit of inspiration, a bit of success as it pertains to addiction recovery. And I've asked Cody to come in and share his story. And don't worry about where cameras are or where the streams are. But I think our ultimate goal is that you and I are just going to chat. I'm just going to have you kind of tell me your story.
Okay.
And you get to begin with whatever you like. And prior to me kind of turning it to you, one of the reasons that we want to do this is to allow people to receive the message of recovery,
if possible,
a message of hope, a message of you're not alone. And this is a way for people across the country or across the world to realize.
That's kind of frightening.
It is. It gives me a little pit in my stomach.
Yeah.
But to realize that they don't have to try to recover by themselves.
Yeah.
They don't have to give up. They don't have to think that it's hopeless or useless. That there is hope. There is a way out. Yeah. There is a way to have peace, to be happy, to be successful. But it takes a great amount of work.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I think that's probably one of the biggest gifts of my recovery or life in recovery is the peace I feel. Mm-hmm. There's times that are definitely hard or challenging, but at the end of the day, I still have peace.
Yeah.
And I remember so many years there wasn't peace at all inside, in my head, in my heart, that it was just chaos. Mm-hmm. So today, just let people know there's a different way.
Right. So find us on social media, Heal the Hurt Nonprofit. You can go to our webpage, healthehurt.org. And we're a nonprofit organization designed to help people get the treatment that they need, that they wouldn't otherwise be able to afford. And so we do a few different campaigns and are getting more involved with Addicts Fighting Back. And there's a bunch of organizations in our community here in Utah. And we're very excited for what this next year has to bring. Some softball tournaments and different fundraisers to help memorialize people who we've lost, to support their families, to support all of the costs that come from when someone loses their battle with addiction, when we lose somebody, but to also bring that message of hope and recovery to the addict that still suffers. So with all of that out of the way now, Cody, who are you?
I'm Cody Martinson. I'm 40 years, just turned 40 this year. About to be 41, actually. Grew up in Utah County. Just was a troubled kid. I still feel like some days I'm a troubled kid still, but in a grown-up's body. I guess I just start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So as a kid, as a little Cody, like I remember.
I'm gonna pause you for just a second because I think we're not picking up your mic. So those of you watching, turn your volume down because you might hear a couple of booms going on. So scoot a little closer to me. We're gonna get your mic. We're just gonna get your mic out of the way, and I'm gonna kind of turn mine over. I'm gonna turn mine over to you. should do us. So
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So when I was a kid, as long as I can remember, I remember feeling different, feeling sad and depressed from a very young age. I felt like I didn't belong in my family. It wasn't necessarily any of my family's fault. It's just how I process the world. Like, I don't know, just sad and depressed. I feel like I had a pretty good family growing up. My dad was a truck driver and a biker dude, and he wasn't around much. So I didn't get a lot of dad time. I did have an older sister and a younger sister that I felt like my mom always kind of paid attention to them.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing the best she could. I love my mom. My mom's my best friend today. But just me processing as a 4 or 5 year old kid going through the world, I just remember feeling different, like I didn't belong in my family. Got in trouble at school, always fighting. I guess I was an angry kid, but didn't really know how to process emotions. And I guess now looking back, like the underlying emotion was probably sadness that I didn't really have my dad around, or sadness that, I'd see people go on like father-son outings and stuff like that. And here I was, just this kid with, my dad wasn't around.
Yeah.
I remember in elementary school, like getting in fights and stuff, and there was a certain group of friends we couldn't hang out together because we would get in fights, or we'd cause trouble, or we'd break the rules. So I couldn't hang out with this group of friends in elementary school. When I was 12, so my parents got separated when I was about 8 years old, and I always had this idea that they were going to get back together. When I was like 12, 13 years old, my parents got divorced, legal divorce. And when I was 12, my grandpa, which was kind of my best friend at the time, the father figure in my life, passed away of a sudden heart attack. And then I was also sexually abused, all in about a year or two period. So it kind of sent me for a loop, learning how to process that and deal with the emotions. I blame myself for a lot of years for that. And I didn't trust people. I kept everybody at arm's distance.
Mm-hmm.
And I also sabotaged relationships. And, eventually people were going to leave, or it was going to just be a toxic relationship. So I, kind of I heard one time in the game is, I'm going to burn you before you burn me. That's part of the game.
Yeah.
And
I'm not going to give you the chance to hurt me.
I'm going
to hurt you first. I'm going to push you away.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that just resonates with me, the relationships I had, or the relationships I pushed. That's just how I went through life. Mm-hmm. Before I was 17, I think I did 2 years locked up in programs. Mm-hmm. I was property of the state of Utah at 13.
Wow.
Because I was an ungovernable child. I didn't go to school. I was committing crimes. Went to this place called Observation and Assessment.
ONA.
Yeah. When I think I was 14 or 15. Wow. I've been to wilderness programs, boot camps. What else? Proctor homes. In and out of Proctor homes. Nothing really worked. But I always kind of knew how to manipulate the system. Like, I'd push the limits until stuff was going to get really serious, and then I would straighten up.
Was it a game until then? Was it fun? Was it just this isn't serious? This isn't real. I'm good. I can get away with this.
Well, and I think part of me wanted to party.
Yeah.
I never really wanted to. I didn't want recovery. I didn't want I wanted to do what Cody wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to do what people told me to do. But it was funny, in the programs, I thrived. Structure. Mm-hmm. So as long as I had somebody tell me what to do, I did good. But when I got back to my own life, it was off to the races.
Yeah.
you know, and it kind of hits home, like, you're not going to stop unless you want to, you know, and I have lots of years of evidence of that, you know, and yeah, I had a thought, but it left. Oh, when I was a kid, my mom would go to church, and the church, and my dad was like a truck driver and a biker. So it was kind of like trying to live life in both worlds.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that. And my experience is people can't do that. If you have one foot on, if you're on the fence deciding, you're gonna fall off here.
Yeah.
If you don't make a decision that, like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to live this clean life or sober life, you won't. You won't. You know, you have to make that decision that, like, this is what I want. You know, because if you're still up in the air, I don't know what type of life I want, then you're gonna get an I don't know life. You're gonna be a product of your environment, product of the people that you hang out with, and that was my case. You know, I didn't really know what I wanted going through life, but so I just hung out with people and misfits. But what I didn't realize was I had all this pain. It's pain from my childhood, pain from being a kid, just things that I never dealt with. I just avoided, and they affected my relationships going forward. You know, I had my first kid at 19, second kid at 21, in and out of jail, toxic relationships. You know, tried moving away to South Carolina to, you know, the geographical change. If I can just move away and start over, it'll be different.
There's that philosophy of changing your playground, changing your playmates, the people that you're spending your time with, and kind of making that adjustment or an adaptation will be the answer. Yeah. It'll just fix everything. And the reality is it's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Those can help a bit.
Yeah. They definitely can give you a fresh start, but I think if you don't actively work on your beliefs and your values and, you know, things that help you build a different life, coping skills and healing the hurt, like, you'll continue to do the same things. You know, when I moved away to South Carolina, like, I found it worked for about a year. I managed my addiction for about a year or two, but eventually it wasn't enough. You know, I always went to harder drugs or more drugs or mixing, or, you know, until the point when, you know, I contemplated suicide. You know, so it was really bad. You know, and that was kind of my thing, is I would use until it would get bad enough, and there was no hope, and I had suicide attempts.
Is that, if this is okay to ask, when you would start thinking about suicide, what was going through your mind? What emotions going through your heart that made that look like a viable option for you?
So the first suicide attempt was in my early 20s. My dad passed away, and, you know, mine and my dad's relationship was always rocky, and there was a couple-year period where we didn't talk. We didn't talk on holidays, birthdays, Father's Days, nothing. And then right before he passed away, we finally were building a relationship that, like, I finally felt like I had a dad. We talked almost every day, every other day. And I remember I was going to a Slayer concert, and I talked to him, and I was like, going to Slayer tonight? He's like, all right, punch a couple people in the face for me, you know, and stayed out all night partying. And I remember my mom blowing up my phone, and when I answered the phone, she was crying, and I was like, Mom, what's wrong? What's wrong? She took her forever to tell me, but she was like, your dad passed away. And I was like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember calling for like a month. I would call his voicemail just to see, or his phone. And at that time when he passed away, I was drinking heavy and doing drugs, and And it was, well, I want to go where my dad's at,
Mhm.
you know, and I was tired of partying. I thought that, you know, the second time was about 6 months later. But the third time was a pretty bad one. I had taken razor blades and sliced up on the corners of my arms. And that was when I was in South Carolina. I just remember my addiction was so bad. I was taking rent money and spending it on drugs.
Mhm.
I was taking Christmas presents back that people had bought my kids, just so I could get high again. And so the thoughts and the feelings was like, this world would be a better place without me. You know, that I was causing more damage, more pain than, you know. Yeah, it would hurt if I left, but I wouldn't be causing continuous pain, continuous. Yeah, it'd be. But what I realized today is there would be continuous pain.
Yeah.
You know, now my dad died 19, 20 years ago, and I'm still learning how to heal from that.
Right.
You know,
right.
And I don't know that you'll ever fully heal from missing somebody. You know, even as bad as the relationship was off and on, you know, there's still parts of me that misses.
Yeah.
But allowing myself that grace to learn how to heal from it.
Right.
You know. And,
right.
And what maybe worked last month or last year probably won't work today.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to just allow myself to heal, find new things, you know, try new things. Some of the things that has helped me is that inner child work, writing letters, talking to them, you know, definitely my own therapy, my own trauma work. I've done the ART therapy. Haven't done EMDR, but ART is a form of EMDR. So just being willing to try new things.
Yeah.
But
to process the loss, to try and honor him.
Yeah. But also honor my feelings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that's the big, in my opinion, that's the most important part of the healing process.
Yeah.
Is honoring. And you used the word grace a moment ago. I love it because we often have this expectation, or we feel an expectation from the world to get over it.
Yeah.
You've had X amount of days or weeks or months to grieve. It's been long enough, right?
Yeah.
We got to push back against all of that.
Yeah.
We can heal from some things kind of quickly.
Yeah.
You know, kind of simply maybe, and then other things in our lives take decades.
Yeah.
And you said something too. Maybe I never really fully heal.
Yeah.
And healing is not a one and done thing. It's not a checklist.
No.
You know, it's
not for me anyway.
Me neither.
Yeah.
And any of you that watch this or see this, write in and let us know. Hey, is it just a checklist for you? You know, do you just get over something? I think we can get to a point where we accept and we can begin to go about our lives, living our lives according to our values and what's important and our priorities and those kinds of things. But that ache lingers.
Yeah.
That pain lingers. But a big part of healing too is how can I continue to function and give myself that grace that this isn't supposed to just go away.
Yeah.
But I can over time recognize that the pain becomes less.
Yeah.
The suffering can go away.
Yeah.
And we want the suffering to go away.
That's a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I think what another big gift of recovery is, you know, I don't get to decide when my trauma or my pain comes up, but I do get to decide how I work through it.
Yeah.
You know, and for so many years, I didn't have a choice. And there's times that I was 4 and 5 years clean and sober, and new feelings came up. I didn't even realize I had. You know, I think I had 3 or 4 years clean and sober, and I realized I was mad at my mom for divorcing my dad. But thank goodness I hadn't put drugs in my body for 3 or 4 years to even have that awareness. My mom did what was best for her, and you know, what she needed to do. It's not her fault, but
Yeah.
but being able to process that anger that I'd stuffed for 30 years. So it was just an eye opener to me that there's layers and things are going to come up, you know, and I get to choose how I work through them today or deal with them, you know, or heal from them.
We talk about, sorry to interrupt you.
No.
We talk a lot about in recovery, kind of the old school philosophy was that addiction was a choice, and that people who were using, whether it was illicit substance, alcohol, that they just wanted to be wrecked, that they just wanted to avoid, that they were escaping consciously, right, intentionally. And then there was this philosophy of addiction being a disease, and some look at that as a almost as a, well, I'm an addict, and so you better expect that I'm going to destroy myself. What, you know, you can't expect anything more from me. Once an addict, always an addict. And I like to push back against both of those and try to merge them in some way. And Dr. Macaulay talks about in Pleasure Unwoven, talks about addiction being a disease of choices, meaning I can choose to work a program. I can choose to open up. I can choose to connect with my feelings. I can choose to dig in. You mentioned doing ART before, which stands for Accelerated Resolution Therapy. For those that don't know, it's a phenomenal trauma therapy. And then EMDR. You know, I'm an old school lover of EMDR, kind of a would you call it an EMDR Bible thumper kind of a thing? You know, I don't know if you can merge those two things, but then ART came along, and it has all the good things of EMDR, but it's faster. People are getting results more quickly. And so it's just better.
It's crazy to me too, the replacement of it doesn't really remove the memory, but it removed my emotional attachment to trauma that I've been through. And
it's none of this Men in Black, look right here, and I'm going to press the button, and then your memory goes away. No, we still have those memories, and it can block out some of the details. They can become a little cloudy or foggy. But what we're really trying to do is take out the intensity of those emotions, the overwhelming and overpowering aspects of those memories, so that I can remember it and go, yeah, that was hard, that was rough, that was painful, but I'm okay. I'm okay here. And so I like to merge that. How Macaulay does is a disease of choices. And so if today I know who I am, if I know my struggles, if I know my strengths, my weaknesses, and all of those things, here's what I've got to do to keep myself from going off the deep end. Here's what I've got to do to keep myself out of relapse territory. Here's what I've got to do to keep myself from making risky decisions that are maybe going to lead to destruction, you know? And so it's not a justification. We're not saying, well, I'm an addict, and so you're just going to have to deal with it. No. You know, I'm going to spend the entire paycheck on something, or I'm going to come home with whatever drugs are, or alcohol, or something. I'm going to disappear for a while. No, it's, I'm an addict, or I'm in recovery, and here are the signs that I might not be okay. Here are the warning signs that my people should look at, right? Or ask me about.
Learning those patterns. The emotional patterns. You know, I think my world changed when I started identifying emotional patterns and core issue patterns. You know, we can go back to core issues. You know, growing up, I had core issues that were, I was unlovable, I was broken, I was unimportant. And going through life, I see how I continued to take actions that backed up those core beliefs. So
to make them be true, to make that belief system come to life almost, that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't matter to anybody. And so then what is that? The self-fulfilling prophecy. I behave in such a way that almost brings the proof.
Destroying relationships.
Which is, I think, all too common. It happens all the time, and it's such an unfortunate phenomenon that happens when shame is present, when we have low self-worth, low self-esteem, when we don't see ourselves the way the world sees us. You know, and I'm not talking, I tease sometimes that you know, I can't go to my mom for really tough advice because she's going to be gentle with me, right?
Yeah.
There are people I've got to go to who are going to go, you idiot, maybe not that harsh, right?
Yeah.
But hey, look, you blew it. You messed up. You've got to do this to fix it, or hey, you're doing this and that's not okay.
Yeah. Well, and getting to a spot where you can hear that.
Yeah.
Not be reactive.
Bingo.
And surrounding yourself with those people that ultimately aren't going to sugarcoat stuff, but they're going to shoot it to you straight, and they're going to be hard on you, and they're going to be like, no, dude, you're better than this, or quit, making this behavior. What are you thinking? These are addict behaviors, or so there's a lot of good in that.
When did you decide you wanted to live? When did you decide that you wanted some idea of success in life, of freedom and peace in life?
I think I had about, it was my last relapse. Was in rehab, got kicked out for smoking and swearing at staff and ripping up write-ups and doing Cody's program. And when I had come back, I was still swearing at staff, and thank goodness for the therapist I had at the time that grabbed me and was like, go sit down. Sit down and shut up. Some of the best advice I had ever got was sit down and shut up for 90 days. If you can do that, you might have a fighting chance.
Yeah. What did you hear? What was the message that you took when they told you that?
That I don't have the answers.
Okay.
I don't know. My way got me to where I was at. And that I needed to let somebody else run the show.
Gotcha.
That I might have a fighting chance if I, shut my mouth and open up my ears, just listen. And it was huge for me. Best advice, and it's funny because working in recovery, sometimes I tell people that I'm like, I'm gonna share a little piece of advice with you. Just if you can even do it for a week, you might learn something. I was one of those guys that knew it all. I've been through so many programs, even when I was a teenager. Like I knew what the therapist wanted to hear, and I knew how to play the game. But I just got tired of playing the game. It wasn't. It wasn't serving me anymore. It was causing more pain. My kids were getting older. My kids were starting to do my behaviors. I haven't seen my daughters in years, and if I didn't straighten up, I was never going to see my boys again. I was facing countless years in prison, and there was just no other way. And I didn't know, when I went to rehab, I didn't know that there was another way. And I didn't go to rehab to quit. I went somehow, some way, I could manage my addiction.
Gotcha.
I could learn how to use successfully. And because I was scared of going to prison. I didn't want to go to prison. And so that's why I went to rehab. And then getting kicked out 33 days after I was there. And it was crazy to me, and I'm so grateful it happened this way. But the first day I was out, I was okay because I was around my mom and kids. Well, the state found out I got kicked out of rehab, and they were like, you're still a danger to your kids. You can't go around them. So I had to leave. And as soon as I got alone, I still wasn't okay with Cody. I didn't do any internal work on my self-esteem, my self-worth, my issues, my trauma. So I was there at that rehab for 33 days, and I didn't do any work. It was all external stuff. And as soon as I got alone, I called women and drugs over. Because to me, relationships and chaos and women were just as much an addiction as drugs.
Yeah.
And used. Thank goodness the rehab called me back, and that therapist grabbed me and said, go sit down and shut up, and they gave me another chance, and they believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. When I went to rehab, an important part of my story is I had open cases in almost every city I went in. Legal, some were speeding tickets, some were driving on suspension, some were possession charges, some were violent charges, assaults and domestic violences and stuff. They were, every city I went into, I caused chaos. And you can tell by my rap sheet when I went to rehab. I think the first month, I didn't even get any programming because I had so many court cases to go to. I had 2 or 3 a week, and I finally got all the judges to like push out my cases, 60 or 90 days where I could actually focus on treatment. Another thing was right before my 2 oldest kids were in state's custody, their mom kind of left and took off on them with a boyfriend, from my understanding. And so my mom stepped in to save my kids from going into foster care, but the state still kind of had custody of them. And so I signed into a drug court program because I knew I needed something long term, like 30, 60 days. I've been partying for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I had my huge record, huge history of use. Like I needed something long term, but I also knew from my years in youth corrections and the system that like I kind of manipulated the system again, because I knew if I signed into the drug court, the family drug court, it would kind of make all the other judges happy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's doing drug court. Well, we'll see how well he does. Mm-hmm. And thank goodness I did it. But I just remember that relapse, like that rehab stuck me in an apartment by myself for 3 days. And I think I had a puzzle and a book to read. And that's all I had for 3 days. And the puzzle was done the first day. And so I had this book, and I found my new love for books. It was Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. Mm. And I don't know if it was the drugs leaving my body or a spiritual experience. Maybe it was both. But it was like my ego surrendered. And it was like, every idea I had ever had led me to that hotel room again, getting high. I was on ankle monitor, in DCFS drug court, on APNP, in rehab, and I still thought my ideas were the best. Mm-hmm. My ideas were shit. Mm-hmm. And so I just became like, what do I got to lose? Like, I'm gonna let somebody else run the show for like a year, mm-hmm. and if I don't like it, I can go back.
Yeah.
And the defining moment for me was, I think, well, the whole time too, a thing that stuck out to me was I was telling DCFS or the state that I wanted custody of my kids, and they laughed. They were like, "No, you're not. You're the last person we're going to put your kids with." And I was like, I'm serious. Like, give me a chance. And I think I had 4 or 5 months clean. I was in day treatment. DCFS came to me and said, "You're not getting your kids. We're pushing reunification with their mom." And so it was, and that had been my whole drive to stay sober.
Here's this reward.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my kids back.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm going to get sober. This is
Yeah.
why I'm going to get my life in order, is because I could get my kids back.
Yeah.
And then that gets ripped away.
Yeah. And so I just remember like laying on my bed, and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why? And so I made a decision, like, no matter where my kids were at, and no matter even if they liked me, that I was going to stay sober, no matter what job I had, no matter, even if I was homeless, like I was never going to put drugs in my body again. And so it was huge to me that I was just willing to do anything. I was willing to do anything in my addiction, anything. There was countless things. I always found a way to get high. So why wouldn't I find a way to recover? Mm-hmm. Why can't I give that same energy to my recovery and healing and living a better life? But I almost became addicted to the process in a way. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe that's my addictive personality, but it was reading books and taking classes. Gosh,
personal development.
Yeah, personal development.
Growth.
Yeah. Right? Figuring
out who I really am and a place that I could have in this world.
Yeah.
You're talking about that surrender, the ego piece that many of us experience, is that my way is the best way, that I know everything. And that if that's not true, then I'm at the other end of the spectrum, that I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And the reality is neither one of those are true for most of us.
Yeah.
Right? We all have some bad ideas, and we've all got some brilliant, wonderful ideas.
Yes.
And I think one of the tickets to our success and our freedom is figuring out to choose our battles.
Yes.
And so Yeah, listen to all these things. GCFS drug court, children in custody, criminal record, pending cases, can't stay sober, pain, the suffering that you had been enduring and carrying for this entire time, and still thinking, I've got all the best ideas.
Yeah.
I know how to do this, right?
Yeah.
And so I love that, as you're talking about the surrender, going, I don't have to think I'm stupid. I don't have to think I have all terrible ideas, but let me let go of this.
Of what I know.
Yeah. And somebody who either has figured out how to live a sober life, or someone who has gotten themselves some significant sober time in recovery, or somebody who's who loves me unconditionally,
or wants what's best for me.
Exactly. Yeah. Allowing the people in that are willing to tell you the things that will risk irritating you, risk upsetting you, but doing it because perhaps they know that's what you need to hear.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So that I think was the defining moment of just, I got to get to work. Another time when I was in rehab, my mom would come visit me, and she would say, I can't, your kids are rude. Your kids are, and my kids were doing my behaviors to my mom. Mm-hmm. So here my mom saved my kids from going into foster care, and she was suffering because of it. She was going through hell or going through pain because she loved my kids. Mm-hmm. And then my kids would come like the next week, and we don't like it there. There's rules, there's this. So here were two of my most favorite people, three, my boys and my mom, and they were in this situation that neither one of them wanted or caused. Yeah. But they were just going through it. And so it was a huge eye opener of, oh crap, I gotta get to work. Mm-hmm. Like I only have a short time till they're adults. Yeah. And I need to get to work to show them a different way.
This accountability piece that you've talked about.
Yeah. That nobody's coming to save me.
Yeah. Yeah.
No woman, no program, no anything like, and I also, I took a year or two. I think I had 2 years before I started dating. It always was suggested in the rooms, don't make any big decisions. Don't date anybody in the first year. Mm-hmm. And I never really understood that. And I see it now working in recovery. Everybody, the drugs and alcohol are gone. So what else fills that void is a relationship.
Yeah.
A woman.
Fills the void, feels good, gets my heart pumping.
Yeah. Distracts me.
We talk about it all the time. We can get just as high doing certain behaviors as we can putting any substance in our body.
Yeah.
And I think as humans, we might want to argue against those things, argue against those theories. And the reality is when try it, for the normies that might happen upon this, we use the word normie, the term normie, as I think with love, maybe with some envy in a way, like how have you figured out how to go through heartache and loss and trauma and pain without escaping,
without putting substance
with these in these ways. And so we tell them, well, go 30 days without Oreos, or 30 days without Diet Coke, or 30 days without going to the gym, even 30 days without whatever that thing is that they wake up in the morning going, I've got to have this. I've got to have my coffee. I can't function. Well, 30 days, you don't get to have it anymore. 90 days. There you go. Or for the rest of your life, right? Because the cocaine addict is not told, well, you just got to give it up for 30 days and then you can have it back. It's, you can't do this again. This doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Or the alcoholic, right? Or even the problem drinker, because we almost want to qualify or justify how we can be just crazy enough, just bad enough, just kind of walk that line between sanity and chaos, sanity and insanity. Well, let me know what's that exact line, and I'm going to get just right there, and then I can face myself, or then I can look at my maker, I can look at my kids, or what, I can face the judge or something like that. And I didn't technically break the rule. I used to be way over here. I'm so much better now. And the reality is a bad day comes and we tend to stumble and we fall back into those old patterns or the unhealthy patterns.
Yeah. And it happens so fast.
Yeah.
It happens so I mean, you have to, for me, I have to be, conscious of like where I'm at mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and even financially is part of it. Like, how am I doing in those 5 areas?
Well, what happens if I, the first comes and it's time for the mortgage or the rent or the grocery bill or whatever it is, pay the gas bill, and I don't have any money? What happens to my stress level?
Yeah.
It goes up. And we know, if we're addicts, if the brain has changed, and even to the normies, because they still stress too, right? But the stress level goes up and we quit thinking logically. We quit thinking rationally. We start coming up with these ideas that kind of sound a little questionable, right? But in the moment, it seems kind of logical, or it even seems like the only option to some people. And so a big part of recovery, perhaps, if not the biggest, one of the biggest, is stress management. And keeping that stress level low enough that the brain can rewire and we can start to realize, yeah, that sucks, or that's really hard, or that's overwhelming, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm going to take baby steps in this direction, and I can handle this. I can get through this.
And maybe some days it's not doing anything because I don't know what the next right thing is to do. Yeah. It's talk to my good friends in recovery, the ones that are going to shoot it to me straight, and just go home and sit on the couch because I don't know what the next thing to do until I can think more clear, or maybe remove some of the emotion, or process and release some of the emotion. Today I need to do nothing when those stressful moments come. Just give it a day or two before I make a decision. So everybody feels like, I feel like a lot of people want to fix it now. It needs to be fixed today. Man, give it a day or two. And hopefully the vision or the decision is more clear on what you need to do. My case, I feel like when I wait a day or two before I make a decision, I always make a better decision.
Yeah. Well, it's so incredible. And I think we are in a society that's go, 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 go. Some that are listening might have had the experience of being in a drive-through, waiting for a meal or a drink or whatever it is that someone's going to serve you while you don't have to get out of your car. Yeah. And we're impatient. We're impulsive. Like, what? It's been 3 minutes. Like
my food.
That was really loud. Apologize there. That was really loud. Where's my food? Where's my Starbucks? Where's my whatever it is? And we're laying on the horn. We have this entitlement, this impulsivity kind of a thing. When the reality is, maybe for many of us, life's really not all that bad, really not all that stressful. I wonder how much worse we're making it for ourselves by some of those decisions. But
slow down.
Yeah, I think a big component of addiction, the disease of addiction, is this issue of impulsivity. And just, I'm faced with a bunch of different decisions and I've got to act right now. Yes. My wife teases me sometimes. Sorry, sweetheart. My wife teases me because if I go to the store to buy something, our one of the exhaust fans went out at home, and so I went and got a new one and trying to replace it and all these things, and it takes me 40 minutes at Lowe's to decide which fan I'm gonna get, which one, because this has the Wi-Fi and this has the nightlight and this has the music, and this one, is this loud and powerful, and this one is a little bit softer and quieter, and which one prevents me from having to get up into the attic, and I'm like, what one am I going to choose? So I might be on the other end of the spectrum of like, I can't make a decision. Yeah. But I think many of us are in that space of, here's the first option, sold.
Yeah.
As opposed to, well, let me gather more information. Let me take a look at what my options are here.
Well, and I think that it's a paradigm, because decisions have to be made. Mm-hmm. Decisions definitely have to be made, like when it comes to career or kids or parenting or relationships. Some people wait too long. Some people don't make a decision. Some people make it too fast. Mm-hmm. So I think finding that balance of like whatever works for you. All right, I know I work best when I wait a couple days, and then I need to make a decision.
Yeah.
And move forward.
Yeah.
You know, don't get caught in making decisions too soon without talking to some people or processing, or don't get caught in a pattern of making them too late.
Avoidance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a big aspect of this
Avoidance.
too, or wanting other people to make decisions for us.
Yeah.
So I want to shift gears a little bit, if that's okay.
Okay.
What do you get out of recovery? And by the way, we mentioned this before we kind of hit record, that we'll gather together again, and we're gonna kind of make a little mini series about this, and some of the things that either of us have seen in recovery, in addiction, in life as fathers. You and I connect in a lot of ways, a lot of similar aspects to life. And so I think we'll have additional opportunities to visit and chat about things. But I want to know, what do you get out of this whole recovery thing? What do you get? What are the perks? What are the benefits that you get from those decisions you made before to get and now stay sober?
I have options. I have the choice to heal. For so many years, I didn't have options. I wasn't employable. I had to take whatever job I could get. Mm-hmm. Today, I have options. I have values, and I can live within my values. Mm-hmm. I have that peace I was talking about earlier. I can make an impact for the good. One of the things too that helped me make that decision is early on. I think when I was in rehab, I was like, I watching a video or something, and I was like, I need a purpose, or I'm going to fall back in old patterns. Mm-hmm. If every day I wake up and I work on my purpose, just even a little bit, 30 minutes or an hour, I hopefully will have a different life than before. Mm-hmm. My purpose is to help people like me. I get to do that more than just an hour a day. I get to do that most every day, all day long. But it's definitely, it's given me that momentum to carry into tomorrow, that I get to live my dream and my purpose today. And it just gives me so much energy into tomorrow, and when tomorrow comes, I'm up and I'm going. It makes it easier to wake up because I get to live my purpose today. Mm-hmm. Which is an amazing thing. I guess in my addiction, my purpose was chaos and drugs and whatever else, how much pain I could cause. And today I don't have to live that way. That's what keeps me going is I have a different life today. It's crazy because there's some things happening in my life today that I prayed for. I remember praying when I was in rehab, I just want to be a good man. Mm-hmm. I just want to be accountable for all my children. I just want to be, give to society instead of take from it, and today I'm accountable for all my children, and today I'm a good man, and today I feel like I give to society, instead of take from it. So it's really cool. I'm blessed. I'm grateful.
I can echo that. You are a good man, and I'm so thrilled to hear you make that statement. Because I did know you at a time where if somebody said those words to you, I would think, if I was in your mind, that one of two things: you'd either think they were an absolute liar and they were just feeding you full of this crap, or they had no idea who you were. And weren't interested necessarily in taking the time to get to know you. But either way, they were wrong because they didn't know who you were. Well, and the reality is, you didn't know who you were back then. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, but I did. I did believe that I was a bad man. Mm-hmm. Today, I know that I've always been a good man. I was behaving in a I don't know how to describe it way.
Incongruent.
Incongruent.
Just living a different lifestyle.
But it still was never part of who I was or my worth. My worth was always there. Mm-hmm. But my behaviors were doing things that were against my worth, mm-hmm. or against who the person I wanted to be, or the person that I was deep down. So today I can separate the two. But if you would have asked me 7 years ago, or told me you're a good man, Cody, I'm full of shit.
And the other part is, I believe that there are people in our lives who can see through the surface.
Yes.
They can see our heart. They can see our core. They can feel that spiritual side of us. And I don't mean religious stuff. I mean the aura that we have, the spirit that is with us, right?
Yes.
They can sense that. And perhaps the majority of us as humans don't look at it. We don't allow ourselves to connect with others that way. We're so distracted. We're so busy. We have so many things on our plate, or we keep so many things on our plate that it doesn't get quiet enough and calm enough for us to be able to feel that, to sense that.
Yeah.
And that is one of the beautiful things that I've seen in recovery for so many people, is they start connecting with other humans, because the commotion of all this other stuff starts to settle. It doesn't just go away all the time or automatically, but it starts to settle. And so we start to feel those connections, and we start to feel good, and we start to feel like, oh, these people really do care about me. Like, maybe I don't know why, maybe I'm not sure what they see, but I start to trust it. Yes. I start to allow them in. I let people love me until I can love myself.
Well, and I heard that we have this saying in recovery is, let me love you until you learn how to love yourself. Mm-hmm. And it was so crucial for me. That's why taking that break from relationships for a couple of years was so crucial for me, because I learned a new way to love myself. Mm-hmm. I learned a new way to love my kids. I learned a new way to validate myself. Mm-hmm. I didn't need the job, the girlfriend, the kids, everything. When you learn to validate yourself, or get your validation from yourself or your higher power, God, Buddha, universe, whatever it is, like I believe you become a powerful person. Mm-hmm. Is that I don't need the external things to validate me anymore. I get that from within. Yeah. And I really worked on that with a lot of the books that I read. What's amazing about books today is I don't have to spend 60 years studying a subject. Mm-hmm. Somebody's already done the work. Yeah. And I get to read the results of it, and implement that stuff in my life. What resonates with me. Not everything resonates with me, but what does, then I can implement it in my life, or change my perspective, Mm-hmm. The power to change your perspective just from reading a book is huge. Yeah. So many ideas, and I love being able to bend my perspective. And I'm not so rigid one way, mm-hmm. And because I had a good friend, Julie, used to always say, you still don't know shit, even to the people that had years, and it always hit home to me, but it reminded me, every day I don't know anything. Yeah. I'm allowing myself to grow and to learn and to, just as I was early in recovery. Mm-hmm. I still don't know anything.
There's a humility aspect to that meaning there is some experience that I have.
Yes.
There are some things that I have some knowledge in, but I'm in no way am I an expert in someone else's life, or have I figured out everything for myself yet. Yes. We're still on that journey. Yes. We're still learning.
The process of self-discovery.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what I call it.
And it does scare me when people, or myself, when we get to a point where we go, I know everything. I know it all. Yeah. That's dangerous territory. Yeah. Again, it's not one or the other. It's not if I don't know it all, then I know nothing. It's, look, I'm adding to this tool belt. I'm adding to my experience. And one of my favorite stories that I've ever heard in my lifetime is the little girl throwing the starfish, on the beach. And I've kind of lived thinking everyone knew that story. And as I interact with some people, they go, I've never heard that before. And so I get to tell it, yes. And probably my version is different. And I would imagine that my version changes every so often, how old she was and how old the guy was and how many starfish there were and all of those things. But we'll record that. We'll record that story a little bit later for those who haven't heard it before. But such a powerful thing that today I get to see you work in recovery, work in this field. Yes. And help some of my best friends, even
Yes.
people that I love and adore. And none of us are immune to this, right? But when somebody who I know or somebody who I care about crosses paths with you, I get to go, they're in good hands.
Yeah.
Cody's got them, right? And
Yeah.
so it's such a testament to who you are as a man, as a good person, that you're living this life, you know. And again, we're not exempt from making bad decisions tomorrow, but here we are today doing what I consider to be God's work.
Yes.
You know. And again, you said it before, the Buddha, source, karma, spirit, the earth, the Lord, however you define that, you know, we're living the golden rule. And man, I don't know that we'll ever give back as much as we've received from others. And I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Because it keeps me motivated to keep doing the next right thing, to keep helping that next starfish, right?
Yes.
The next person.
Well, and I heard it too. You know, I was in my addiction for 21 years. I'm coming up on 7 years clean and sober. And so when I get to 21 years, maybe then have I made an impact, or, you know, so I still have 14 years to go.
Yeah.
But then maybe, you know, if I could spend that much time in my recovery as I did in my addiction, then maybe, you know, the playing field.
Then it evens out.
Yeah, yeah.
I could view it that way.
Yeah.
I could view it from the perspective too of the quality of our life and the quality of our human connections in those months and years. And so the 7 years that you're coming up on, I don't want to speak for you, but knowing you the way that I do and understanding recovery and understanding healing, I feel fairly confident saying that these 7 years you have done more good than the harm that you did in the 21.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what my first thought is? Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. But maybe, you know.
And perhaps that's a little morsel of motivation.
Yeah.
To okay, well, what's this next year gonna be like?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's also funny that, like, even though that's my first thought, just observing it, not attaching to it.
Yeah.
You know, and just letting those thoughts come and go. Like, you know, that even with almost 7 years, my first thought is still negative sometimes. You know, like, oh, now you've caused more harm. But just not letting that thought stick or resonate. Just kind of like, oh, thanks for sharing. You know, so it's there were so many years when thoughts would come, I would stick to them. Yeah, or that's who it was, or I would, you know, and I wouldn't process them and just laugh.
Shame is such a powerful thing.
Yeah,
and we know we each know the gravity. And I'm already arguing this thought before I make this statement, but we each know the gravity of the decisions that we've made. We know the unwell decisions that we've made. We know some of the harm that's been caused as a result of choices that we've made. So the argument that I want to say is sometimes we don't always realize it, whether we choose not to pay attention to that, or subliminally, subconsciously, we shut ourselves off from those realities, or legitimately we just didn't know that we said something or we did something and it had a negative impact on people.
The ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly. The ripple effect. You know, who knows that today on a snowy day, you know, when we're all trying to drive a little more careful, hopefully, but some of us maybe that drive four-wheel drive vehicles get a little bit reckless. And how do we know that we didn't scare someone driving next to us or behind us and they overcorrect, right? That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
We're just not paying attention to everything.
Yeah.
Not intentionally, just we don't recognize the impact that each of our decisions have. But guess what? There's a flip side to all of that too, is the good.
Yes. Yes.
is you have said something to someone and you don't even remember it. And that person, it impacts them. But then anyone else who was in that room, who heard those words, who felt that energy, that love, that compassion from you, takes that with them. And it benefits, it has the potential to benefit generations.
Yeah.
Because of the good
True.
that you do.
I have an experience. Gosh. So I did get custody of my boys. A year later, the state came to me and said, "Do you still want custody of your boys?" But one time when we were living together, my son was playing football for high school, and I didn't have my driver's license for like 2 years because it had been taken away. And so I was riding the bus home from work one day, and I got out of the bus and was walking across this gas station parking lot, and I looked down and there's a debit card. And it's crazy to me because still the first thought was, how much stuff could I get away with?
Yeah.
With this person's credit card. And the second or third thought was, I'm going to turn it in. And I looked at like the gas station attendant and I was like, that guy doesn't look he looks shady too.
Yeah.
So I looked at the name, and the name was some different name, like foreigner's name. So I was able to look up the person on Facebook and said, "Hey, did you lose your debit card? I found it in the gas station parking lot. Here's my address. Here's my phone number. Come by and get it." And they called me later on, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll come by. Oh, sorry, it must have fell out of my truck. We'll come by later on that night." And they came by at like 10 o'clock and picked it up. They're like, thank you so much. Well, a couple months later, my son was getting a ride home from football practice one day after school, and they pulled up to drop him off, and they were like, "It's your dad, Cody." He's like, "How do you know my dad?" He was like, "He returned my credit card to me."
Wow.
And so the ripple effect, but also what if I would have made a bad choice that day and did something illegal? My son would have been known. Maybe your dad was the one that misused my credit card. So it was, I got to see and I had evidence very early, a year or two into my recovery, the ripple effect of my good decisions.
Yeah.
So that my son was even gaining, stuff from the good decisions I made that day.
Not only is he recognized as being your son on that day, with the positive feelings, but him hearing that, and I can't speak for him, but what I feel, my dad had an opportunity to do something wrong. He did the right thing.
Yeah.
And how that confirms the quality of your character.
Yeah.
And how proud he must have been in that moment to hear that.
Yes. Or even this is what we do when we find people's cards.
Yeah.
That we turn them in, or we find the people.
Yeah.
That we don't do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So a little story. I have so many stories like that in my recovery of just things just worked out. I should, with my record and with how lengthy my addiction was, like I should have never got custody of my kids. Like the state said, I was the last person they were gonna put them with.
Yeah.
And just goes, I can attest to, like, if you just do the work, you never know what's gonna happen. You never know.
We put ourselves in a position to receive those blessings of recovery, but when we only do it for the reward that we think we're going to get, a lot of times I think we're disappointed.
Yes.
But it's when we shift our values, when we shift our integrity, and we start doing things that are in line with our values because it's the right thing to do, as opposed to what I'm going to get out of it. It's the rewards are endless. We're in line to get those phone calls from DCFS, or we're in line to get those job opportunities, or to have somebody ask for a favor because now they trust us.
Yes.
Right.
Or you get those phone calls of, "Hey, the state just showed up at my door. What do I do?"
Yeah.
I countless friends or people in recovery or people in addiction have called me and said, "Hey, I don't know what to do next.
What do I do?"
What do I do? You know, and what a gift or what an opportunity to just be of service to people. Of, hey, this is what I did.
Yeah.
You know, maybe go sign up for a parenting class, or you know, go sign up for treatment or whatever. You know, and I can help guide them in a where they're a little less overwhelmed, or they get a little more clear on what they need to do.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, countless people. The state shows up in their life, whether it's criminally or child family services. They get so overwhelmed, and it's too much pressure, and they choose to continue to make
the stress level goes up.
Yeah,
and insane things start to seem reasonable and logical to us.
Yeah,
when that stress level goes up, we panic.
Especially when we already have the patterns.
Yeah,
you know, it's a lot easier just to keep doing the same patterns until we learn something new.
Right.
But that's probably been one of the people that thought that it wasn't possible to get their kids back. I remember them calling me and saying, "Hey, I just took my kids in tonight. Thank you so much." You know, and I'm like bawling and like, because I remember that day, like I didn't think it was possible. You know, and just being able to give back to my kids and give them a space to heal. You know, and to teach them about values. I don't remember my dad teaching me values. I don't remember doesn't mean he didn't. I just don't really remember it. You know.
Yeah.
But just remember, like, having those conversations with my kids. Are you happy? I remember having that conversation with my boys, and are you happy? And they're like, "Yeah, that's a weird question," you know. And I'm like, "Well, why do you got to make it weird?" But just asking them, you know, what is what you're doing in your life making you happy? You know, and not like you're chasing happiness, but are you happy with the things you were doing?
And you know, it's not bad to be unhappy.
No,
I think there's a stigma around that I can't admit it if I'm sad today. I can't admit, I can't tell somebody that I'm bothered because for whatever reason I'm supposed to be happy, or I'm supposed to lead or be accountable or responsible or provide or something like that, or I don't want to my happiness or dissatisfaction, my sorrow, my pain to rub off on somebody else and ruin their day. Like, we're not that powerful.
Yeah.
Right. And so I challenge people a lot when someone says, "How are you doing?" Like, tell them, you know, and maybe it's a fun social experiment. "Oh, I'm so glad that you asked. You know what? I stubbed my toe this morning and it will not stop bleeding. And it's causing me to walk really weird. And so now I'm concerned that like one of my legs is going to be stronger than the other because it's compensating." And just kind of like, if you can almost do auction, like an auctioneer's voice, like just start busting out
what's wrong,
whatever's coming up for you, you know, and just see how people respond. It's hilarious.
And another thing that was huge for me with feelings was, if I'm trying to stay in a feeling, it's kind of a delusional living. Like, I can't stay happy, can't stay sad. Allowing myself to feel the emotion and release it. Like,
to experience what's happening.
Whatever emotion comes up.
To be present and to be mindful.
Yeah. And if for so many years I would try to chase happiness, or I would try to stay happy. Or when I was depressed, I would try to stay depressed. And that I feel like it's not part of the human experience. Like, emotions are meant to come and go. And allowing myself to feel and let it go.
Yeah.
I still catch myself, even with a little bit of time, numbing out for a day or two, and I have to remind myself, "Oh, Cody, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel frustration. It's okay to feel anger. You don't have to stay there, you know." And sometimes it stays, you know, longer than other, but being okay with that, you know, it has been a huge aha moment for me. Is try not to stay. Don't live in delusional. I'm not a delusional person anymore.
I love it. But, well, I just love you. I just really enjoy spending time with you, and I'm so appreciative that you came down and spent some time with me. And hopefully our people that are going to watch this or listen to this will feel inspired and will realize that they're not alone.
Yeah.
That they don't have to try and recover, to get well, to process through, to deal with chaos by themselves. So anyone that's inspired by your words, where could they find you? How could they get in touch with you and just say, hey, thank you, or I've got a question, could you give me some suggestions?
I don't know. I guess I could leave my number, or
to be determined. Maybe we'll put it in the comments section.
Number or an email, or I'm on Facebook. Don't be scared to send me a message. And there were, like, I didn't get to where I'm at today without hundreds of people helping me, and I finally realized I was never scared. I was gonna bug every person I knew until I got the help that I needed.
Yeah.
And so if something's eating at you, or if something's bothering you and you need a little guy, like, send me a message, Facebook or wherever. We'll put my email on here or something, and you can email me. But yeah, I'm involved in the recovery community. I play softball. I'm part of that Addicts Fighting Back. I do a lot of 12-step stuff, and so come find me, and I'll be around. But there's still so much. I think the recovery part of my story, we didn't really. Yeah,
we're gonna dig into that. Like we were talking before, we'll have a few of these, and this is just getting our feet wet, I think. But those of you that are watching, again, you're not alone. If you're struggling with anything, trauma, mental illness, addiction, pain, loss, grief, please don't believe that the false claim that sometimes pops into our mind that nobody cares, that nobody's willing to help. There are so many people willing to help. And if we can't help, if we can't be the ones, we'll certainly point you in a direction that we trust, people that we believe in that could help. And so, Google Addicts Fighting Back. What's Addicts Fighting Back's website?
AddictsFightingBack.com. Yeah. Okay. And then you find it. It's a 501c3. Find us on Facebook. There's a lot of recovery events and softball and volleyball and barbecues. And I think next weekend they're doing a little Easter egg hunt around the park.
Awesome.
But it's stuff you could, in recovery, if you need some fellowshipping or whatever, to come get involved, bring your kids, have fun, barbecue, get to know us. Like, we try to provide a safe place for people to come when they're in recovery, because you have to change everything, and everybody there knows what it's like to start over, and we're welcoming, and we'll show you a different way, and you're one of us. Come get involved, and we'll probably put you to work, and give you
which is needed. We did our drive, our winter drive back in December, and you guys supported us big time. It was so appreciated, and I was blown away. For those watching, that aren't aware, we did a clothing drive, a warm clothing drive and food drive for the unsheltered population in Salt Lake City. And Addicts Fighting Back pulls up with a U-Haul truck filled with clothing, yoga mats, coats, food, just an amazing organization. And so we're looking forward to partnering with you guys more in the future. But guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Cody Martinson, my friend. Give us your comments, your thoughts. Even if it's an argument, send it our way too. But give us a follow, give us a like, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
You're not alone. You can do this. We believe in you. We'll end that stream.